Ready? Hi, this is Dr. Timothy Young at Issaquah Foot and Ankle Specialists, and today we're going to talk about fifth metatarsal fractures. What causes a fifth metatarsal fracture? It is usually an inversion injury, like when you sprain your ankle. So inversion would be where the foot twists inward, like this. And now let's look at this chart. Here's a picture of somebody with this type of injury. When that happens, the peroneal brevis tendon that attaches to the fifth metatarsal is actually stronger than bone in some cases, and there is tension here, and it ends up pulling a fragment of bone right here, and the bone breaks instead of the tendon rupturing. Then you get an avulsion fracture of the fifth metatarsal. Now let's look here at the foot skeleton model again. So you've got the peroneal brevis tendon attaching right to the base of the fifth metatarsal, and it pulls a section of bone. That's called an avulsion fracture. Another fracture that you can get is further up, right between the midshaft and the base, and that would be called a Jones fracture. We're going to look at that also. You can get a long spiral fracture of the shaft of the fifth metatarsal also. Those are really the most common ones: avulsion, Jones fracture, and like a spiral midshaft fracture of the fifth metatarsal. Those three. Let's look over here at some x-rays now. I'm going to turn the lights out. And this is a Jones fracture. This is one that has had a screw in it, and actually it didn't heal. Let's go back again here. So that's a Jones fracture. That is in an area where the bone supply is actually not good at all, the blood supply to this bone, and so they're very poor healing. There's a lot of torque here between this section of bone and this section of bone, and so they always have to have fixation. But the fixation doesn't always work, as you can see in this case, which was a complication. Let's look at some more here. Here is, I'm going to go back a little bit. This is another Jones fracture right here. It's right between the base of the fifth metatarsal and the midshaft, again an area where there's not good blood supply and there's very slight displacement. If it healed exactly where it was, it'd be fine, but the problem is these tend not to heal. Now, here is an avulsion fracture, the base of the fifth metatarsal. It's not here, it's not a Jones fracture, it's at the base, and that peroneal tendon, which would attach right here, has pulled that section of bone. This is a midshaft spiral fracture of the fifth metatarsal, and that one is not displaced, and often those heal. If they're displaced significantly more than that, we typically will put some type of fixation there, in other words, open reduction, internal fixation, and then the patient will have to be in a cast to protect that. So we've looked at some examples of fifth metatarsal fractures on x-ray, and after the fracture has been fixated with either the screw or a plate or pins, then the patient is in a cast until that bone heals. And typical bone healing is 8 weeks. That's just a typical average. It could take shorter, it could take longer. And after that has healed, they can get out of that cast boot and get into a good walking shoe again. So that's a nice summary of fifth metatarsal fractures. Thank you very much.